that I had with Caitlin.
And okay, we're gonna go to this because you didn't want to mention this in the last meeting, and that's part of the clarification. So please don't cut me off because I'm absolutely willing to speak my piece. Did I curse? Absolutely. Did I say that I wanted to pull somebody out of their desk and punch them in the face because I was so irritated? Absolutely, I did. Did I tell you that I was not in the right state of mind to speak to your council, nor was I in the right state of mind to speak to you, which is why I didn't call you? Absolutely, I did. Did I tell you I needed a minute to mull over exactly how I wanted to approach this situation? Sure did. But again, you started our conversation with, I was making your life difficult, and why didn't I just call you? I had your personal cell phone. That's exactly right, Ty. You were in my studio picking up your propagation jars just the day before. Why didn't you bring up the ordinance? Why didn't you bring up a permit? Why didn't you tell me that there could potentially be an issue with snow removal as somebody that had worked in snow removal in City Works Department for multiple years doing that job? Okay. Give me the courtesy. If you want the friendly phone call, what am I supposed to do here?
That's enough. So, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting of Monday, March 2nd, 2026, to order at 7 p.m. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have of serving you. We pray that you be with each of us. Give us the wisdom and the guidance that we need. Continue to be with the city. Help us to get everything straightened around to the best of our ability and get everything fixed up so that everybody can enjoy the community. For we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, council, I'd like to add a few amendments to the agenda tonight. Under item number 3 in citizens business verbal, let's add Jeremy Vidic with grants for the backyard park. And then item number 4, Julie Domina for refurbishment of the Newcastle signs coming into town. I'd also like to add under committee and council member reports, item number 5, Senator Barrasso's speech in Washington, D.C. Does the council entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Second.
What was this last one there, Mr. Mayor? Which?
Oh, it was in, yeah, is there any discussion? Under committee, council member reports, item number 5.
Okay.
Okay, is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Does the council entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 17th, 2026? We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to nominations for recognition. Does the council have any nominations for recognition? Any nominations for recognition? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to certificate of recognition. Betty Sample. Mrs. Sample. Come up here, Mrs. Sample. It's good to see you. So this certificate of recognition, is for you, Mrs. Sample. You're a bright light in our community. Your kindness, compassion, and dedication have made a profound impact in Newcastle. And I have a lot of constituents that kept coming to me and they're like, how can we honor Mrs. Sample? And so please take this humble certificate as a sign of our appreciation for all that you do for us. So, yes.
Betty.
And then, Mr. and Mrs. Sample, I'd like to invite you to the next meeting because I have something else that I'm preparing that I would like to have you be here in presence.
And it's okay to leave?
Yeah.
Betty.
I want to leave too. So.
Betty, let's see.
Oh. Am I done? I said everything I wanted to say. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Sample, I want to get a picture with you for you. I'm probably going to hang you in my office. So.
You take it home to your kids.
Yeah.
Let's do one more.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
You, everybody.
See you, Mr. Thank you.
Well deserved.
Yes, very much so.
So before I move on to citizens business verbal, I just want the public to be aware that at 7:30 we have a public meeting scheduled, public hearing for the liquor licenses in town. So we'll have to shut the meeting down wherever it's at, and then we'll do the public hearing, which will take about 10-15 minutes, and then we can get back to the business as usual. So with that, we'll move to citizens business verbal. Item number 1, Newcastle Farmers Market, upcoming season.
Hi, everybody. My name's Missy, and I'm the chair of the Newcastle Farmers Market Board, and Yasmin, our treasurer, is here with us tonight. And we just wanted to come attend the meeting, and first of all, thank you so much for your support of the farmers market last season. We were able to move the farmers market downtown this year instead of being out on the edge of town. And the feedback we got from the community was phenomenal. It was fantastic. People really, really enjoyed having the farmers market be centrally located, number one, and just kind of have that community feel. Going forward, you know, the vision for the farmers market as a board is to just continue to be a big part of the Newcastle community as far as outreach goes, education opportunities for the public, obviously acquiring locally handmade goods and locally sourced goods, and just being a positive part of community. And really all we wanted to come here to speak with you about tonight is just a little bit of the feedback we got from the community last year, and that is our mobility impaired community members who really had a hard time attending the market on a regular basis due to parking. We all know how downtown is. It's, you know, sometimes hard to find a parking spot. So we just really wanted to come and see if there was a way we could address that with you, number one, and then two, also ask for your support for this upcoming season. We plan to be located in partnership with First Northern Bank in the parking lot that we were in last year, along the side of their new ATM lane. So I've already been in touch with them down there, and hoping the city will continue to provide support in being able to block off the side street, like between the parking lot and the library. I know the city engineers came out last season and would block off that street for us, which was super helpful. So just really had a couple of ideas that we wanted to share for maybe creating some handicap parking just for that 2-hour time period for market. So I know last year we had talked a little bit or asked about central lane parking specifically just for the farmers market time. And I know that that came up against, some concerns about changing the parking just for a 2-hour time frame every Thursday. So there's the parking that is right in front of the movie theater between the entrance to the parking lot of First Northern, or where the ATM traffic will actually exit from that parking lot, along the street there, right in front of the movie theater. There's a spot for maybe 3 spots or 4 possibly that could become just handicap parking specifically for the farmer's market meeting, or farmer's market time meeting, sorry. And then along the backside between First Northern and the library, where the street is blocked off anyway, I don't know if the city has access to some temporary handicap parking signs that we could place along the backside of the spot that is blocked off already. So those were our thoughts and ideas. And again, hoping we can partner with the city and stay in the same location as last year. We do have approval from First Northern Bank already.
Well, I think that we should be able to make any accommodations that you need.
Okay.
We really enjoyed the farmer's market and having it downtown. And I'm sure that we'll have a successful season this year.
That's okay.
Looking forward to it.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, if you could fill out one of the special event forms with the dates, that gives us the necessary information we need to be able to do our job.
We absolutely will. Yep, we absolutely will. We just set the dates last week at our board meeting. So, and then we're kind of waiting, excuse me, to hear about the fairgrounds and the fair this summer, because we're normally located at the fair during fair week. That would be the only week that we wouldn't need to be downtown. So,
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming in tonight. And yes, the farmer's market is awesome, and you guys have been doing such a great job with it. So really appreciate it.
thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item number 2, Caitlin Mackey, Doctor's Office Donation Center. You can speak from where you're at, or you could come to the podium if you'd like.
My name's Caitlin Domina. I had Caitlin call on my behalf as I was in appointments this week. I watched the 19 minutes from the previous meeting in which y'all discussed the donation center and the questions that were posed. I came this evening, for one, to clarify a little bit of information and to maybe why I was a little bit upset enough to make posts on social media. In addition to that, I'd also like to ask a few questions of the city council. The last meeting, within the first minute of the 19 discussed with the donation center, there were snickers in regards to a call ending abruptly with no actual discussion as to which call and with whom. I was notified by the city through a quote courtesy call, but I don't think that courtesy calls come with scoffs of annoyance, raised tones, and somebody hanging up. I find it very hard to believe that a bench that's been in front of the 112 West Main address since the roughly 1st of July, a donation center that's been in operation, and the donation center, for clarification, is exactly 16 inches. It protrudes 16 inches outside of the wall of the business. Our mayor has been within my studio no fewer than half a dozen times. Mr. Stump has been within my studio no fewer than 2 times. Both have been able to view the studio's bench, as well as the donation center outside of my studio. I've had no fewer than 2 individuals within our police department in uniform within my studio during my time of operation while the bench was present with donation items. And no one has ever mentioned an ordinance. I'd also like to note that members of the Streets Committee were not sure if the ordinance had been passed or if it had still been tabled as of the last meeting. Not entirely sure how you expect members of your community to know what ordinances are in place and which ones aren't. Not entirely sure how you expect members of your community that don't have the ability to reach city office and city hall during your hours of operation to find the required permits that may or may not be in play. Our mayor told me he would bring me the paperwork when he called me after I posted my social media post in reference to the courtesy call. And I use that term very lightly because, again, a courtesy would have been a number of the individuals on this council and sitting in front of me now that have, by all means, attempted to be friendly with me and do business with me as an individual with their role as mayor, have never brought this to my attention as a courtesy. This donation center was never intended to be a thorn in anybody's side. I have a shovel and I spend multiple times during snowstorms shoveling outside of my studio to ensure that it's not a hazard. And not just for my my clients, but your constituents, everybody that walks on that sidewalk. I own a home within the city on a very, very well-traveled sidewalk, and I do the same on the front of my home. I understand the importance of snow removal. I understand your guys' very, very much concerned undertone throughout the entire 19 minutes of liability. And the city being liable, as it was made very clear to me during the courtesy call, that was the main undertone, liability. Being liable for the damaged items. They're dollar store totes. If they get hit by a plow, I'm completely understanding. But I think the term best suited to shit happens. Unfortunately, your constituents don't stop being hungry when it starts snowing. And there are a lot of people silently in our community right now suffering. It's not a Goodwill station where people are expected to exchange anything with me. That was a misconstrual, the way that it was presented last week. I go out of my way a couple times a month to take the funds that I have that are extra out of my pocket to go and purchase basic care essential items. Soap, laundry detergent, food items. I have a lot of people within our community that have donated food items from their own pantries. And they get taken. As I told our mayor, this is a station that's used daily. I'm not posting anything on our sidewalk to make a profit. I'm not looking to be a thorn in your side, and I'm not looking to take 19 minutes of your hard time in an evening to discuss me being a pain in the ass. You can come to me with a little bit of courtesy and ask me to change the way that I have it presented, but as I told the mayor, you will have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands.
So I need to add something now.
I think y'all spent 19 minutes discussing me, and it's more than fair for me to discuss this. You had an absolute positive review over the phone while constantly reminding me that you're a busy individual.
Point of order. I have something to say to you, Caitlin. Now, I found that in this position, that things seem to get blown way out of proportion, okay? So what started as a courtesy call, it wasn't attacking what you're doing for the community, which I am a huge fan. I think that it's great what you're doing for the community. I like your donation bench. I like you providing charity for people who need it. We have ordinances in place in our community, and we need to abide by our ordinances, even though some people don't think that they have to. So we simply were providing a courtesy call because snow was imminent.
The ordinance was never mentioned during the courtesy call, so please don't make that part of your discussion. You're trying to provide a point that is absolutely null and void.
You're out of order.
You're lying.
You're out of order. I'm not lying, Caitlin. Let me finish, please. So you were provided with a courtesy call and simply asked to move it because there was snow imminent. So nobody said you couldn't have it there. Nobody said that what you were doing was wrong. We just asked you to move it so that they could push snow in the morning, and you could have put it back out on the sidewalk.
Are the planters across the street that protrude 22 inches and are not exactly against the building also asked to be moved for the same purpose?
So Caitlin, you were just asked to move it, and then you didn't it didn't have to turn into what this is turning into.
Correct, your phone call also didn't have to turn into you chastising me because you're a busy individual and you get paid a small stipend, and I was making your life inconvenient and hard because you had to take the day off from your full-time position to attend to mayoral duties, and you are now being intruded by conversations, text messages, phone
Okay.
calls, and being tagged on social media.
Okay,
That's how you
that's
started
enough.
our phone call.
So, full disclosure, I spoke with, Miss Domina, and I just asked her, you know, can we have a conversation? That's how people do these things. We have conversations and we talk it out.
That's
We
not
don't
how you
run
presented that at all.
Straight to social media and then cause a big uproar in our community over a simple question to remove something, and she wasn't even told that she had to remove it forever. She just had to move it so we could push snow. And then it reawakened the fact that this council had been working on an ordinance, had been working on an ordinance for a permit. So not on an ordinance, on a permit, so that people can violate the ordinance. So we've actually had one business owner that paid the $25 per quarter to have her stuff on the sidewalk. And the premise behind the permit is so we can use that funding to replace trees on Main Street or do something with the funding. And then you can be in violation of the ordinance, and then we don't have to have this discussion. You told me in our telephone call that you were willing to pay whatever.
And I am. I'm
you
looking
needed
for
to pay.
clarification as to what you guys mean.
So we got into an issue at the last council meeting, and you watched the 19 minutes. So we fumbled. We started the permitting process. We tabled it back in May, and then it was just never revisited. So we fumbled. People make mistakes. Okay, so.
And I'm aware, but as of right now, your council is holding the objective understanding that I am currently violating an ordinance that you guys could not agree on whether or not had actually been put into play or had still been tabled. And pause, please let me continue my thought. If you're gonna ask me to hold, if you're gonna ask me to hold, you're gonna. Of
Point
course.
of order. The permit was in play, right? The ordinance has been in play the whole time. The ordinance pre-exists this council, predates this council, predates the council before it.
And
The
again, had you
ordinance
let me
has been
finish
on
my
the
thought,
books.
you would have known that I was going to dissect the exact verbiage to understand where you guys are going to consider impediment of usage of the sidewalk. And when the last meeting was concluded, the understanding that I had that it did not matter whether or not I had a permit, it did not matter whether or not you guys agreed to the permit, which understandable, permits in play, I get that. $25 every 3 months, that's what's required for me to utilize the sidewalk within the front of my studio. The question that I have is that at the end of that discussion, there was still brought up that this bench needed to be removed during snow removal. And my question is, if that is the case, then what is happening with the other individuals that have a permit? I want to be sure that we don't have to have these discussions again, but if I'm not allowed to ask my questions, I fear that we're going to be here a couple more times.
Okay, pause 1 second. Julie, do you have something?
I do. I'm a Main Street business. For one, I've been there for close to 5 years. Never heard of the ordinance. Have never seen city people cleaning my walkway. I do that every morning, 8 a.m. Have never seen anybody there. Have not, as a Main Street business, what are you considering an obstruction? I mean, what does that entail?
I've had
As
these
a-
questions too.
As a Main Street business for that long of time, who has informed me of this? It hasn't been the property manager, it hasn't been our council. So as just a Main Street business, I put out a bench, I've put out a table with flyers during rally, I have put out a dog bowl. I mean, we need clarification as your community if you're gonna do this, for one, and for two, how about we get some clarification? And I'm sorry, as a side note, the conversation, had it been a courtesy call, I don't think would have caused Caitlin to post anything because we had a very verbal conversation, and it was not a courtesy call. It was a chastise and a snotty call. And I can say that for one, because I too have received them on other instances from your admin that have not been courteous or kind. And I was the one that reached out to you to have a conversation with my daughter.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that you did that, but again, you cannot expect your constituents to follow the rules if we don't know what the hell those are.
That makes sense.
I mean, I'm a Main Street business. If there's an ordinance, I think it's your duty to inform me of those ordinances. And if you're not gonna afford me that information, afford the property manager or the property owners so that they can tell their leasees what the ordinances are. And again, I'd love to find out when city is cleaning my sidewalk, or do I get to call them and say, hey, are you gonna clean it?
Julie, I worked for city public works for 8.5 years, and we give of our time. I've been down on that sidewalk when it snows, and I pushed that snow at 5 o'clock in the morning many times, many times.
5 o'clock in the morning, I'm sorry, does not do a whole heck of a lot when
We
people
clear
are
out
not
by
coming.
7 a.m.
Our clients aren't coming in at 7 a.m. That road or that sidewalk needs to be cleared during business hours. So again, when I go and I start my business day at 7:30, 8 o'clock, it's me cleaning it up. It's me throwing ice melt. It's me cleaning it up again.
It's a free service that the city provides. We leave the sidewalks at 7 a.m. because we don't want to have collisions with pedestrians or vehicles that are on the street. And we want to have clear sidewalks. If it's still snowing, I get what you're saying, Julie, like if it's still snowing, then you
Well,
end
I'm
up
just-
having to clear it again.
It sounds like that's been a reasoning behind not having obstructions. And I'm sure everybody's looked at the Facebook posts. It's not just Caitlin, it's not just me, it's not just a few people that are making mention of it. There's been more than one item on the street or on the sidewalk blocking our heavy flow of traffic in Newcastle, Wyoming. Again, let's make the ordinance clear. Let's visibly show that there's a permit. Because I'm sorry, I've called 4 businesses that have stuff in front of their business, and only one told me they actually had a permit, so.
And so another thing too that I just want to throw out there is we can have conversations, right? We can have conversations like we're having right now, and we can be respectful of each other, and we don't have to talk over each other, and we don't have to be rude.
And so I just want to let people know that there's money involved for all of us. And what we really owe you, the people, whether we're elected officials, whether we own a media company that accepts them. Let's face it, I mean, advertising dollars, when it used to be advertising dollars that drove local media, those people, I mean, I've had a lot of advertisers pull their money from the newsletter journal and I knew they were gonna, because editorials I wrote. I mean, God, when I went after the fair board, I lost advertising right and left over that. I lost advertising over the hospital board thing a few years ago. Every time we write an editorial challenging something in Weston County, we stand the chance to lose dollars. And so now taking in donations really doesn't make it any difference.
And so another thing too that I just want to throw out there is we can have conversations, right? We can have conversations like we're having right now, and we can be respectful of each other, and we don't have to talk over each other, and we don't have to be rude with each
You
other.
let the person finish their complete thought and she would not have gotten rude.
So, no, I'm talking about the telephone conversation that I had with Caitlin.
And okay, we're gonna go to this because you didn't want to mention this in the last meeting, and that's part of the clarification. So please don't cut me off because I'm absolutely willing
Go ahead.
to speak my piece. Did I curse? Absolutely. Did I say that I wanted to pull somebody out of their desk and punch them in the face because I was so irritated? Absolutely, I did. Did I tell you that I was not in the right state of mind to speak to your council, nor was I in the right state of the mind to speak to you, which is why I didn't call you? Absolutely, I did. Did I tell you I needed a minute to mull over exactly how I wanted to approach this situation? Sure did. But again, you started our conversation with, I was making your life difficult, and why didn't I just call you? I had your personal cell phone. That's exactly right, Ty. You were in my studio picking up your propagation jars just day before. Why didn't you bring up the ordinance? Why didn't you bring up a permit? Why didn't you tell me that there could potentially be an issue with snow removal as somebody that worked in snow removal in City Works Department for multiple years doing that job?
Okay.
Give me the courtesy. If
All right,
you want the
that's
friendly
enough,
phone calls,
that's
what am I
enough.
supposed to do here?
That's enough. So, I appreciate where you're coming from, Caitlin. I thought that I could call you because, I thought we were friendly and we could have a nice conversation.
We were. You should know that I curse. That's my vernacular. And to be
Yeah,
completely transparent,
but
it's very difficult for me to be in a very
It's
heated
not okay
situation where
to
I'm
call
upset.
and curse people though, or.
You called me. I never asked for your
Okay,
attention
that's
or you to
enough.
call.
That's enough. We're not gonna go that route, okay? So, would anybody else in the audience like to add anything on this subject while we're talking?
I had something, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Why don't we send it back to the streets committee, have him propose it to the council, get it straightened around, and send letters out to all the Main Street businesses, explaining what the ordinance is and what we expect them to do.
That should have been done from the beginning.
Okay, so Councilman Butts, that sounds like a reasonable suggestion. So,
One thing with that one, I think when
Go
we
ahead.
do send it out to those storefront owners, they need to understand in that letter that this first time cleaning is just courtesy of the city that we've done over the years. And it is the responsibility of the store owners to keep it clean from that point on, after that first removal. It's not a continuous cleaning all day long.
Do we have a date, when did we pass this ordinance about the whole thing? Like you said, it's been not our council, not the council before.
I don't even know what the date is on that ordinance.
Well,
what you just said?
but at the time that was passed, those landowners weren't informed.
So this ordinance has been on the books since 1983.
Okay, so
So, council, I would like to request that we have a streets committee meeting to discuss the permitting fee. And then full disclaimer, public, we have an ordinance book revision underway right now. And we're trying to weed out the ordinances that aren't enforced or aren't fairly enforced. And we're trying to clean it up. So maybe this could be one that's on the chopping block. I mean, I thought that it was a simple courtesy call to move something and then move it back. And I don't know how it got to this
But
point.
that's the thing, Ty, they didn't tell her to move it back. They said it needed to be removed. So whomever made that phone call is whom you need to speak to, because it was not told to her that, hey, remove it for this time and place it back.
Okay, so
Thank you,
Julie, we'll go ahead and let Stacy Haggerty, clerk treasurer, speak, could she? Oh, yeah, we're at 7:30. We'll revisit this in a couple minutes. So, we're calling to order the, notice of application of retail liquor licenses, at 7:30. So notice of application renewal of retail liquor licenses. Notice is hereby given that on the 30th day of January 2026, the following 8 retail liquor licenses, 1 club license, 2 bar and grill licenses, 1 restaurant license, filed applications for renewal of their liquor licenses. Protests, if there be any, against the issuances of these licenses will be heard at the hour of 7:30 p.m. on Monday, March 2nd, 2026 in the City Council chambers at City Hall, Newcastle, Wyoming. Liquor license number 1, Perkins Tavern, LLC, DBA Perkins Tavern, Lot 6, Block 10, Original Town Site. Liquor license 2, Shortstop, number 1, LLC, Shortstop Fuel Mart, a tract of land in the northeast southwest section of Section 30, P45 North, R61 West of the 6th PM, Weston County, full description available. Do I need to read all the track numbers?
No, you can just read the businesses.
Read the businesses. Okay,
Thank you.
we'll streamline it, that's why I'm stumbled through the whole. Okay, liquor license number 3, Decker's Food Center of Newcastle, Inc. Liquor license 4, Tap and Bottle LLC. Liquor license number 5, B&D Holding Newcastle LLC. Liquor license 6, Mini Mart Inc. Liquor license 7, BW Gas and Convenience Retail LLC. Liquor license number 8, Maverick Inc. Bar and Grill number 1, Isabella's LLC. Bar and Grill number 2, Newcastle Lodge and Convention Center LLC. Club license number 1, Newcastle Country Club. Restaurant number 7, Frida's House Mexican Food LLC. So on this second day of March 2026, does the council make a motion to approve the liquor licenses?
Your Honor, I move that we approve the liquor licenses, club licenses as read.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. We approved the liquor licenses. And we will move back into our regular council meeting, back to citizens business verbal, item number 2. Caitlin Mackey, Doctor's Office Donation Center.
Yeah, we did that.
Would anybody else like to speak? We cut it off. And it seems like everybody's left. Is there anybody who wants to speak on this?
I would still like to speak if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Clerk Haggerty.
I will be very honest. I am the one that made the phone call. Number 2, it was an absolute courtesy call. Caitlin, I think, was understanding that she just had to move it. She got very upset, and I don't believe that she would even hear anymore after I asked for the removal for snow.
Did you clarify why it needed to be removed?
Julie, I couldn't, she honestly got upset. And I finally had to say, Caitlin, this was a courtesy call, and say thank you and hang up. And I did, because she was upset and was no longer listening.
Okay.
Okay, is there anything further on this matter? Oh, go ahead.
No, this is something you guys did last fall about the business permits and stuff.
Oh.
Remember that?
I'm
During
sorry,
the
Kathy,
meeting,
this is, what
You know,
are you, this doesn't have anything to do
the
with
$25 that goes on the sidewalks. I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
the meeting. I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell you about what I
Okay,
remember.
she's talking about the permit.
Okay, and
Okay, so this all
And you
that,
can have, you
relevance
had
to
to
the
remove your
discussion.
stuff during snow removal. But I think fair is fair. The city council and the business owners ought to have a big meeting. This is my opinion. Please make sure everybody's aware. Don't just have a meeting about it. Then contact all your business owners, have them come in, and have your meeting with the business owner, instead of just have a meeting here at the city hall here, or city council meeting.
No, I
That should have been done like that.
I think you have a valid point, Kathy, because the thing is,
Let's make this fair.
we hope that people will come to our council meetings, right?
Mhm.
When we put out the information. But unfortunately, the only time that we have people in attendance is when it gets contentious, or they're getting an award. So, there has to be a better way to put out information. I agree with you, Kathy. And Julie,
yeah,
I
well-
agree with you. We need to get the information out to the public.
Yeah, well, the public and the city council should be on the same agenda. Business owners, house owners, streets, everybody should be on the page. Not just the city council or somebody that attends. Everybody that should come and attend these meetings because I have learned a lot since I have been coming to the meetings. And I go out to the fair board meetings, so I can learn more about the fairgrounds and stuff. So I'm learning more and more about, laws, ordinances. And I'll tell you something right now. Okay, we don't live in a city, we live in a town. I'm sorry, but Colorado Springs and Denver are cities, or the metropolises, or whatever you want to call them. But let's have everybody on the same page. I'm with, a certain council member, we should always, everybody on the same page. Let's not have these arguments and blow up. You're in a council meeting. You're not here to yell and scream at people. You are not. They are not. You're to be courteous when you come in. When I appeared in front of Judge Dunbar, okay, when I got, okay, and I did what I was supposed to. Okay, I did everything he wanted, and it was yes, sir, no, sir, okay, sir. There was no screaming and yelling. Now, between me and my kids, that's none of nobody's business. Those are my kids.
Yeah,
But
so
when you're in a store, or you're out in
Kathy,
public or in here,
well,
you're to be courteous.
I appreciate what you're saying, Kathy, and then I also appreciate that you're one of our regulars at the council meetings, and
Last one, I was sick. I had a migraine headache. I didn't make it.
yeah, well, we appreciate that you come and that you're actually learning something.
Well, everybody wants to think I'm funny, but I use
I don't think you're
common,
funny, Kathy.
no, I use common sense. Not this new wave, we gotta scream and yell or get our point across.
Yeah, we need to maintain a certain level of decorum. Sometimes it's hard. So we
And-
do appreciate it, Kathy.
When you're in a place like this, you do not come in and, you don't scream at them, they don't scream at you. Sit down, you wanna get a point across, just explain it in a normal voice.
No, we appreciate it, Kathy. And
Because I
thank you.
come from two parents
We're
that
gonna,
didn't scream and yell, they sat you down, they told you, and that was the end of it.
thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
We're gonna move on to item number 3.
Mr. Mayor, before we move on real quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not opposed to sending a letter out to the business owner, but to what end, right? We have several ordinances. Where does that end? Where does that start? Where does that end as a council for us? There's ordinances in here for homes, things like that. So if we start sending letters out, an ordinance that I can pick out of here off the top of my head is burn pits. We don't notify the public of what type of burn pit they can have. They get notified when law enforcement drives by and they see it.
That's a valid point, Councilman Kinney. So that's the thing, right, is we pass ordinances or we do things in town, and then everybody hears what the ordinance is about. Just like chickens are a good example.
Well, we had to publish it in the paper.
So we pass an ordinance on chickens and everybody hears, hey, we can have chickens. And then they run out and get chickens and they don't observe the intricacies of the ordinance. They just hear that it's okay and then they go and do it. So I understand what you're saying too, like if we go and provide this service to all the people on Main Street, then we do have the municipal code and our ordinances are available on our website. So if you have a question about something you should or shouldn't be doing, it's very available. You can look and see what the rules that we're supposed to be following, the rules that we're supposed to be enforcing. And one of the problems with our community too is we haven't been fairly and consistently enforcing the ordinances.
Exactly.
So then nobody knows what they are and aren't supposed to do. And then they want to point their fingers at their neighbor, hey, so-and-so has the same thing going on at their place, and we have to start somewhere though.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
It's not gonna be popular, and I probably won't be mayor next cycle, but we're gonna start enforcing our ordinances, and, it needs to happen. Our community needs to look good. We need to be a place that has clean, clean houses, no junk vehicles. We need to start cracking down on some of this stuff so that we can take pride in our community. So it's something that we're working on. We had a workshop tonight prior to this meeting where we were talking to some ordinance enforcement people from a bigger town close by about ways that they handle some of their ordinance enforcement. So we need to start doing it. Our town needs to look nice. We have a lot of projects going on. We're trying to do things for our community. We're trying to make it look better. We're trying to make it an attractive place to come. We got the Veterans Memorial that we're trying to do. We got the backyard park. We got the pocket park on Main Street. We're trying to do something. And sometimes it just kind of falls on deaf ears, or maybe people don't notice that. So we need to put more information out in the public. But anyway, I'm beating a dead horse now. Does the council have anything that they'd like to add?
Yes, would you call on Jeremy Dietrich? The day that comes
Yeah. Citizens business number 3, Jeremy Dietrich, for grants in the backyard park.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Coming on behalf of Ben Sprockets, and like you mentioned, good segue, I like how you plan that in there, the backyard park, and how we're trying to make the community a little bit better of a town for all of us. We all do it in our own ways. So I wanted to bring to attention that the Wyoming Outdoor Recreation and Tourist Trust Fund has just opened up for grants, their grant opportunity. And I would like to ask the city to apply for that, and Ben Sprockets would like to cooperate with the city on that. We're looking at asking for about $200,000. This would be for the bike trail of the backyard park, full construction of that. We have a plan that was paid for and developed up with America Ramps. Greg and I met with them virtually met with them this last week, and discussed where that plan was at, where we're at with the project. So I'd like to throw that out to the board and kind of give you a little bit of an update on that if we can, or answer any questions that we can for that.
What was the name of the group giving the grant again?
Okay, I have to read it to remember too.
Okay.
So it's Wyoming.
Read slow.
Okay, Wyoming Outdoor Recreation and Tourism Trust Fund. I'll give you a little bit of history on it, so it is short. 2 years ago, our state legislature voted this trust fund in. It's to work like the Natural Resource and Wildlife Trust Fund as well. So there is a committee there. They are using our taxes that we pay on our hotels, recreation tax basically, that all hotels have to pay. And they developed this. They're sitting on about $3 million of trust funds for this allocation. That doesn't mean for one grant we can't ask for that much. We could, but we probably wouldn't get it. But it is supposed to be an annual ask for grant applications for that. It should be a perpetual funding source for the state of Wyoming for outdoor recreation. The goal of it is to promote our outdoor recreation. And normally when I come up, you guys hear me talk about the trails that are out at the V, the old quarry trails out in the outdoors. Well, backyard park is considered out in the outdoors as well, and would be a very good candidate for this. The very good thing for this and for our community is we have a very good reputation with the entity that formed this trust. this trust fund. We are one of the first grant recipients of Wyoming Outdoor Recreation Board. It wasn't this board, but the tourism, what would that agency be? It's a
recreation office.
Right, okay. And we received about $50,000 and used that for the flying V trails, or the old quarry trails, I'm sorry. The first one we used for adaptability on the flying V trails. So we've had 2 grants through that entity. I was called specifically by one of our liaisons, and like, backyard park is, they're not gonna say a shoe-in, but this is what we're looking for. They're looking for a measurable accomplishment, so they can say this program is a success. It's not one of the big cities. We're competing, if we put in for this grant, with Casper, Laramie, and a handful of others who have multi-million-dollar projects, where they're looking at $3 to $5 million projects. And we're gonna be shooting in for that 200,000. And it don't tell anybody on that trust fund, but we're not gonna complete the whole thing, but we're gonna complete that bike trail. And then later on, we'll go and we'll finish, get a lot more money to finish the skate park part of that too. Because that's gonna be pushing $1 million when we do that. But I'd like to bring that to the city council.
Is there a time limit, Jeremy?
Yeah, for getting this done,
Yeah.
the grant, yes. It needs to be in by April 11th.
So, Jeremy, I got a block of instruction at the Wyoming Association of Municipalities about this specific trust fund. And then when I talked to the young lady that presented it, she knew you, and she also said that she'd come up and visited the backyard park, or come and visited you guys in the community, and that she wants to come up and ride bikes with you guys again sometime.
Nice.
So it was awesome. And then when I told her about the backyard park, she's like, "This is right up the alley." Yeah. So yes, sir.
So that's the blessing of living in Wyoming. We are a small community spread really far out, and the recreation community is even smaller. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, we're a small town with really long streets.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So we appreciate it, Jeremy. We'll get it before Beth. I'd spoken with Beth about getting in touch with you in regard to this matter.
Okay.
So.
Lastly, is there any questions from the board on where we're at with the different recreation projects from our end? Non-traditional baseball, soccer fields, I have nothing to do with that. As far as where we're at with our trail system and the other projects we have going on.
Yeah, is there any council, you have any questions for Jeremy?
How far along is the backyard park?
We have a trailer, we have people using it.
Okay. How long is it?
Well, I think it's a little over a quarter of a mile. That wraps around through those streets. It doesn't seem like very far when you compare it to the trails, like a trail system.
Yeah.
But it is something that's in town. I usually give you guys a little short anecdote story, a success story, whatever. So I'm at career day, and these 3 teenage boys, one of his, come up to me and they're like, "Oh, we've been riding at the backyard park. We gotta show them the video, show them the video." And it is a video of one of the 3 flipping over his bike, not intentionally. Every parent here did this. The kid didn't get hurt. I mean, that's how they titled it. They had it on YouTube, but they're happy about it. They're using it. They're talking about developing up a club within the high school and the junior high of kids that will ride. And I'm all for it. Just
Very good.
Go do it. So kids are using it. He's seeing them. He drives by it on his way to work. They're using it. When it's not wet, they get out there. When it's wet, it's gumbo.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. So we're hoping with this trail that it'll actually be a surface that can be, I won't say all weather, but it'll be more weather where they can go out there when it's muddy.
That's what your 200 grand is for.
Yep. And actually, it'll be other features inside that. It will also allow for progression. And what progression means is it takes somebody that's just starting to ride, and then they can have more challenge, kind of in a controlled setting, and then get a little bit more advanced, have those different options for folks to try. And I don't even want to say kids. I mean, anybody that's here, you get on a bike and you're like, all right, we'll ride that. And I can do this little feature, a little drop. I can do a little bigger one or whatever. And you can build up in a kind of controlled setting. So that's what we're looking at.
Cool.
Yeah, and the thing I would add to that too, my name is Caleb Carter, is I live at the end of Salem. And so I drive by there or run by there or bike by there all the time. And I see kids there all the time. especially as we're getting into spring. But even though this winter, as nice as it's been, I see kids there all the time. And I think one of the great things about it is the kids can access it on their own. And that's what they do. They're riding their bikes over there, they're riding at the park, and they're riding off to wherever they're going next. And that's one of the things that I think is really cool about it, is if they aren't able to drive out to our trails, if they don't have access to get out to some of the trails, they can use the bike park, and really excited about that. So just want you to know it's getting used constantly, which is super exciting.
Public that's in attendance, we've gotten some grant funding from Par Pacific and the Wyoming Refining Company. We've utilized that funding to get a fence built, or going to get a fence built along the back side of the park. And then we also use some of that funding to get the design work done. So now we need to use the rest of it up and then maybe ask for some more. But it's baby steps. We're trying to get it done. So we've been working on it.
I'll throw in a little bit. You brought up funding, and I know there's some folks from the refinery here too, just for that conversation. So we picked that trail because it fits it in the maximum of the grants without having to go to the legislature. We could ask for $2 million and we'd build a great park and a skate park, the whole thing, but we'd have to wait for another year for the legislative body to meet. So we'd be looking at 27 before that would happen. And we don't want to do that. So if you keep that grant within that under that 200,000 or at that 200,000 level, we don't need legislative approval for that. We go through the straight deal. But that's not to say that if we had another donation of say $60,000, that we wouldn't be able to put that right into the bike playground part of that. Bike playground is for the wee ones, where they can go out and they won't be on the trail and interfering with everybody else, or maybe they do that with their mom or their dad later. But it's features for them to learn how to ride, and that would be a part of that as well. So there are different parts of this. If anybody's ever interested, by all means, grab me and I'd share the plan with you, or I know Greg has it with him as well, buried on his computer like mine is. So that's where we're looking at from the bike aspect. And then eventually we would like to raise that money from multiple donations, I'm sure, for that skate park too, to make that a really good question.
I had a quick question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if you wanted a stage in a park, would that be a recreation thing? So like, you know, the new alley park downtown, if they wanted some sort of stage for entertainment, would that be an outdoor recreation project?
That would be a
Write a
question
grant
for
for?
them. That would be a question for Bryn, the grant administrator.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know that's a totally different avenue than the way I usually deal with them. They're usually thinking outdoor hiking, biking, equestrians, UTVs, that kind of thing.
Not tap dancing.
Not tap dancing, but do it outside, maybe.
Yeah.
Or ballet.
Yeah,
Or ballet.
exactly.
Does the council have any further questions for Jeremy and Caleb?
You do good work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, we sure do appreciate
Thank
you
you.
guys, thanks Rockets, thanks Jeremy. Thanks.
So do we need to make a motion
Excuse
for
me,
Beth to go forward on that?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, what was it?
Do we need to make a motion for Beth to move forward on that?
Council, do you entertain a
If you're
motion?
using her as a part of this, the thing that I guess I wanted to ask real quick, Jeremy, is
Yes.
this a grant that's being written from your side, or is it, okay?
No, we're asking the city to apply for this grant.
Okay.
This is where we're gonna reverse roles, where we got the grants before.
Right.
We'll supply Greg and Beth with a letter of support from our club, as well as the collaborative. There's a collaborative that the same agency formed, that they're like, you have to have this bare minimum. That's tomorrow, I'll get that letter tomorrow of support from them, and we'll support you, and we'll count our time to match it.
One second here, so council, you would need a motion, just.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may turn to you, would we do that with a resolution?
I mean, you can, but I mean, as of right now, they can just put it in front and move forward on the motion. Resolution on that side, I guess you would need to read it prior to them moving forward, which we're not gonna have for another 2 weeks. The letter of support, you're just gonna be bringing in to them, and then basically Beth's gonna know how to do that, so.
Mr. Mayor, Council, we are working through this. I've talked to Beth, spoke to her again today about it. The biggest holdup was finding out what the cost was for the different portions of this project. we have that now after our meeting with, the designer. We now have that information, so we can start applying for funding now. We're aware of the deadline of April 11th, and it's doable.
So does the council entertain a motion to move, or have our grant writer Beth Blackwell write a grant for the Wyoming
Outdoor Recreation Tourism Trust Fund.
Wyoming, yeah. What?
Yes, Your Honor, I move, and she seconds.
I move, you second.
I'll second, then, okay, you move, I'll second.
We have motion properly seconded to move forward with Beth writing this grant proposal. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, City Council.
Yeah, have a good evening.